She marched up my driveway like she owned the world, clipboard in hand, sunglasses too big for her face, lips pursed like she'd just bitten a lemon. That was the first time I met Karen. And just like that, my peaceful life turned into a legal circus. All because I didn't live in her HOA. Let me back up. I'm Jake, a retired firefighter who saved up for years to buy a quiet little house on 2 acres just outside a suburban development. I made sure, double sure, that it wasn't part of any HOA. I like my space. I like my freedom. I built a small shed, parked my boat in the yard, and sometimes grilled shirtless on the porch. That's not a crime. But to Karen it was. Her house. 2 blocks over, part of the Willow Creek HOA. Mine. Technically outside the HOA boundaries. But Karen didn't care about technicalities. She saw my property from her morning walks and decided I was ruining the aesthetic integrity of her community. Started with letters. Typed, signed Willow Creek HOA at the bottom. Demands to remove unauthorized structures and warnings of fines. I ignored the first 2, assuming it was some mistake. By the 3rd, I drove over to their office, only to be told very clearly that my property was not under their jurisdiction. So I thought that was the end. It wasn't. A week later, I caught Karen trespassing, taking pictures of my backyard. "What the hell are you doing?" I asked, stepping off my porch. She didn't even flinch. "Documenting code violations. You'll be hearing from us again." "Lady, I'm not in your HOA," I snapped. She scoffed. "We'll see about that." And boy, did she mean it. 3 weeks later, I was served. Lawsuit. Karen sued me. She claimed I was technically part of Willow Creek due to an original covenant from decades ago that had been overlooked by the county. She even got the HOA board, her little army of yes-men, to support it. Their demand: that I comply with HOA rules, submit plans for approval, and pay back dues for the last 3 years. 3 years. French I never joined. I was furious, and I wasn't going to take this lying down. So I did what most people don't expect from a guy who fixes up old trucks and lives in cargo shorts. I called my lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Lisa. My childhood friend turned real estate attorney. And probably the only person who could match Karen's level of pettiness in a courtroom. Lisa took one look at the documents and laughed. "This is total garbage. But clever garbage. Karen must have dug into some really old property lines to pull this off. So they've got something." She shook her head. "Nah. They're hoping you'll get scared and settle. But we're going to bury them in facts." And we did. For 2 weeks, Lisa pulled records. She contacted the county recorder, the zoning office, and even the developer's original lawyer. Turned out the land I lived on had been carved out of the HOA plan just before the final plats were filed. The covenant Karen found, superseded by a revised map, one with my lot clearly marked outside the HOA boundary. We had documents, we had timestamps, we had signatures, so we showed up to court. Karen strutted in like she was about to receive a trophy. She even had her little HOA board seated behind her, whispering and smirking. The judge, an older guy with a voice like sandpaper, asked for opening statements. Karen's lawyer, some fresh-faced guy with gelled hair, tried to spin a tale about how my property was clearly intended to be part of Willow Creek and how I was benefiting from community standards without contributing. When it was Lisa's turn, she walked up, calm as ever, and said, "Your Honor, this is a case of harassment by an overreaching HOA. My client doesn't live in Willow Creek. Never has. Never will. And we have irrefutable documentation to prove it." Then she handed over the revised plat map. Damp. Recorded. Legal. Karen leaned over and tried to argue, but the judge held up a hand. "Ma'am, I don't need commentary from the peanut gallery." The courtroom chuckled. Lisa wasn't done yet. She brought out another document, an email from the original developer confirming that our parcel was sold as exempt from HOA control due to access and easement restrictions. Karen's lawyer objected. Denied. The judge barely blinked. 3 minutes in, and Karen's case was unraveling faster than her composure. She stood up, shouted, He shouldn't be allowed to park that rusty boat in view of the street. It's lowering property values." The judge paused. "Ma'am, again, your opinions aren't legal arguments. Mr. Walker's property isn't under your jurisdiction. This case is dismissed, with prejudice." Karen gasped like someone had slapped her. Her lawyer just buried his face in his hands. "Me." I turned to Lisa and whispered, "You're buying the next round." But it wasn't over. Karen's board tried to file a motion to appeal. Lisa sent them a cease and desist, citing harassment. Then we filed a counterclaim for legal fees, defamation, and emotional distress. Lisa warned me, "They'll never win, but they'll keep trying just to be annoying." I asked her, "Can we make them stop permanently?" She smiled. And then she introduced me to something called a SLAP motion, strategic lawsuit against public participation. Basically, if someone files a lawsuit to silence or harass you and it gets thrown out, you can hit them back, hard, financially and legally. We filed it. And Karen suddenly went very quiet. A month later, I got a check in the mail. She had to pay my legal fees, over $8,000. And Karen, she resigned from the board. Apparently, the other members finally realized that her personal vendetta wasn't worth bankrupting their community coffers. Rumor has it she moved to Florida a few months later. I kept the check framed in my shed, right next to my fire helmet and the citation I got for saving 3 kids from a house fire back in '08. But the best part, a few weeks after the trial, I got a knock on the door. It was the guy who lived next to Karen, Tom. He looked nervous. "Hey, I know we haven't talked much," he said, "but I just wanted to say thanks for standing up to her." "Yeah." I raised an eyebrow. He nodded. "She tried to sue me last year for putting up a satellite dish. Said it violated roofline conformity. I couldn't afford to fight back." I looked at him. "Well, you're welcome. She won't be trying that again." And she hasn't. Since then, things have been quiet, peaceful, just how I like it. I still park my boat out front, still grill on my porch, still live free. And every time someone mentions the HOA, I just smile and say, "You know, I shut that down in 3 minutes." Because some people build fences, others build lawsuits. Me, I just built a life where people like Karen don't get to win. If you like this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And remember, always check the fine print before someone tries to own you with it.